Hello, and welcome to Life Lessons for a Time Such as Now. I am Tracy, and I'm here with Joanna and Chris.
Hi.
Hey, Joanna. Hey, Chris.
Hi, ladies.
How you doing today?
Good.
Pretty
How are
good.
you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much. We have a guest today. It is a pleasure for me to introduce him. So to celebrate Black History Month, this topic is Black history. Have we forgotten? And so with us, we have Dr. Davis. Hi, Dr. Davis.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Thank you so much. So can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Oh, yeah, I am an ordained minister, and I've been teaching African American history at Bowie State University. I teach two segments. I teach up to 1865, and I teach from 1865 to the present. So it's the whole, all the way to Africa, all the way to the present. So I've done that. How I came to be teaching African American history, even though I'm a theologian, um, is that when I was doing my thesis, my doctoral thesis, I was making a comparison between Gustavo Gutierrez, which is a Latin American liberation theologian, and Professor James Cone, which is Black liberation theology. So I was doing that project, and I was like, I can't pull this off without some knowledge of my own history, because he was using a lot of history and talking about history from another perspective. Because I was like, what's going on here? And it hooked me. What I do is I do historiography. I'm hooked on historiography. Now, what is historiography? Historiography is the craft that historians use to pull their work together. They are in the archives and they're looking at these primary documents, and they're making the most of it. And I said, wait a minute now, what's going on here? They're leaving stuff out that I'm not, I'm aware of. And I said, well, let me explore this. And so I started taking some courses, and I took one course that hooked me and brought me over to where I was able to teach African American studies. And what that was the slavery from the slave perspective.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The other side of the story is what was the slave thinking about his enslavement or her enslavement, and that's what drew me in to this discipline. So I'm excited to be here tonight, and so I am, as I said before, I'm ordained minister, theologian, but I love historiography because of what it's I'm more educated today from having that experience of looking at historians and how they go about their craft. So I'm excited to be here today.
And I'm
Well, we're
excited to
excited to
have you.
have you.
Wow,
Yes,
Yeah.
we
that's
are. We're
great.
very
Well,
excited to have you.
Yeah. So Dr. Davis, so I hear you said that from 1865 until present, right?
Right.
What have you noticed in regards to Black history today that you see missing from 1865 based on your studies, 1865 until, let's say, the 1970s or the 80s? What do
Okay.
you see that's missing?
Leadership. We don't really have the Malcolm X's. We don't have the Martin Luther Kings. We don't have the Mary McLeod Bethune. We don't have any of that. We had a African American president, but that's kind of a sidebar issue. It's like a tokenism. They pushed this one African American and gave him the White House, but we're paying the price for that election of that first African American president. I'm thinking that what we're going through today, in terms of the rise of white supremacy, it's all over the place, and it's very tragic. And what they've done is they put African Americans on mute. They're afraid to speak out about what's going on before their eyes, and so I'm very, in fact, I really came out of retirement to educate this generation about their history, and because in other words, the design for politics, right after the Civil War, it was to keep African Americans out of the political process, right? So at the close of the Civil War, right, you have 4 million in the Deep South go free, right? Where do they go? They had control in the Deep South, right? And they're free now, and that is a lot of political clout. And they are, but fast forward, it's hurting us. I've seen it's like they got us on mute, and we're looking for a savior, right? We're looking for somebody to rescue us, and we are what we're waiting on. We need persons like yourselves, the persons on this call, to get the word out that we need to reinvigorate this whole issue of Black history celebration. The Black history started out as a celebration of a week. It was a week. It was about the author of The Miseducation of the Negro was Dr. Carter G. Woodson. Does anybody know who that was? Okay, that's all right. Dr. Carter G. Woodson is the father of what we call Negro History Month. It started out as a week, and he, talking about Dr. Carter G. Woodson, he was around in the early 1900s, 1926. He wrote this article. Now, excuse me, he wrote this book. Here's what it was called: The Miseducation of the Negro.
Yes.
You
I'm
know,
familiar with that book. Yeah.
you know the funny part, Dr. Davis?
Yes.
What the question Tracy asked, that was a very good question, and your answer was very good. You actually helped educate us a little more on where it got started, you know,
Yes.
and who started it. But you mentioned Mary McLeod Bethune.
Yes.
And I'm part of the National Council of Negro Women.
Okay.
That.
Yes.
And so it's like her legacy is still going on, but not as loud as it should be.
Yes.
Within the community. So, but my question would be similar to what Tracy asked, but with everything that's going on right now in the world today, with them canceling books, taking books out, now there's a law that they're trying to pass that students have to get a permission slip to learn about Black history or be a part of Black history. I mean, how do we overcome these obstacles? Every time we move forward, it's like they try to push us back 10 spaces. You know, I understand we do need a leader, but with all the communities like NAACP, you know, the NCNW, how do we connect to get ahead of things, or, you know, to make the real change that's needed? Because I don't feel it's there.
It isn't, because what happened was in the civil rights movement, the civil rights era, we had young people who went to college, and they got a sense of their history and what in other words, they decided to be history makers, right? We don't have that aggressive political sense, heightened awareness of what's going on. The answer to what's going on, this attack on history, is they want us to have a return to what I call a mystery, because excuse me, my life is a misery because I don't know my history, right? And so it's up to those who are woke, quote unquote, right, to make sure that this generation knows their history. There's this disconnect. We don't know the significance of those leaders that went before, because it takes sacrifice. You see those students going into the streets of the 60s, and Black Lives Matter, That's a part of
That's
what's
another
that's
one.
a continuum of what the resistance is. It's like a Black Power movement resurgence that's going on right now, and it's coming from those young people who have not who have a sense of what's going on and how they could turn this ship around. We could actually turn this ship around if we not only teach it in the schools. What about our parents?
Yeah, that's true.
The
What about
parents have to be
legislation, though? What about voting the right people in our communities? I think that's where it would start as well, too.
okay.
That's
Good.
very important. Am I
Yes,
right?
yes. But the thing is about voting.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to vote. It's important to know why you're voting. You have to be politically aware, conscious of what you're doing and what you are trying to accomplish. I used to be a community organizer, right? And so what we would do, we would help persons get elected, and we would hold them accountable. We make them give us a promise. I'm going to do this if I'm elected, right? And then as we step forward and push them up on that pedestal, which is what where you're at when you're an elected official, you represent the people that put you there, right? But there's this disconnect between they get in office and their role or goal is to stay in office, and in order to stay in office, you got to play the game.
Yeah.
And you forget about those who put you there.
Or your hands is high.
Yes, if you want your job.
Right.
Okay.
So again, it still comes back to this. Got to be a way we can overcome this.
Yes.
I agree. Thank you.
You're welcome.
As well. So let me also then ask, from what you're talking about politically, listening to young people today and how they look at Trump as if he is going to give them all kinds of money, he's going to do all great things. They feel like Biden is just old and played out. He hasn't done anything, which they don't really get what's really going on. My question to you is, what is the danger, or what's the importance of this upcoming presidential election in regards to history and today?
Well, this whole thing started was because of they wanted to depoliticize African Americans. In other words, they wanted them to be on the fringes of society. So we had some Republicans after the Civil War who were called radical. This is not the Republican Party that you know of today. We had some Republicans that were called radical Republicans. And the reason they were called radical Republicans was because they wanted to get African Americans equality. And they were the ones that pushed the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which protects, the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which was the first clear definition of citizenship in the United States. Was the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. That was passed in 1868, right? And it reads as follows: any person that has been born or naturalized in the United States or its territories is a citizen. This was a pushback to all of this enslavement that they had African Americans pushed out to the side, and they were all born here, okay? You got from Africa, you're here, you're born here, your family was here, and then they still did not have any rights. And so you had, and so that's one advance. Then you had the 15th Amendment to the Constitution, which was passed in 1870, which protects the rights of the citizens of the United States to vote, right? That was, right to vote, regardless to previous condition of servitude or color of your skin, right? So those two amendments have been pushed to the side in the present day. And what they've done is they're brainwashing this generation. And that's what we have going on. We have a lot of information mixed in with propaganda. It's lies mixed in with the truth, right? And that's where we are. That's where we are. That's where we are today. Misinformation, and that's another type of brainwashing. They brainwashed African Americans, quote unquote. Many of them have been brainwashed because they're taking in what they're getting on the internet, and they don't have the total story about what it means to be in a democratic society. But we're losing, according to many of the pundits. We're on the verge of losing our democracy.
And what is that? I'm sorry. What is democracy? And just for those who don't understand what that is,
okay,
what is democracy and why
Yeah.
is it so important to us?
Okay, good. So the genius of this country is that the people have a voice. The voice is exercised in the vote, right? And so when you don't vote, you don't count. Well, that's the same way they had it before. You didn't vote because you didn't count. Now you don't vote and you don't want to count. Why? They told you that politics is dirty. No, politics is about power. Plain and simple.
It is, but isn't it? Sorry for the interruption. It is about power, but again, like even with the presidency and stuff, they made a mockery out of presidency once Barack got in office. Okay, he had tied. They took my opinion, my personal opinion. They tied his hands because I don't care what nobody says. There was a lot he could have more. Maybe he wanted to do, but he couldn't. Why? Because they wouldn't let him. You know, as being a president, it's not like he gets to just say this is what goes down and that's it. There's other people in the back that's making a lot of the moves. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
I agree with that, Joanna.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. You're making perfect sense. But here's where the education comes in. We have two branches of government, co-equal, right? It's three, actually three. So you got the House of Representatives, you got the Senate, and then you got the president, right? So here's where we broke down. We elected a president, that's President Barack Obama, right? And we left him out there to fend for himself.
I agree with that.
Okay, we left him out there to, but then I like what you said. They tied his hands because he couldn't get anything passed. They had persons who were voting against something they were originally for,
right?
Because it was African American,
right?
Right? They were voting against their own self-interest to keep him from accomplishing all that he could accomplish.
Right. No, I totally agree. And you got to imagine, you know, think about all the letters and notes and stuff that he wasn't supposed to see, but because he was president, he had to see and hold it in. You know, he's seen a lot of, my opinion, stuff that, you know, that they had on the table, like, why is this on? This is why blacks don't get to do this. This is, you know, he's seen all of that, and he couldn't share it, you know.
Yeah.
To help us change, but I still say we got to find a way to connect better, you know, to get our history. Because one last thing I need to say is we're celebrating Black History Month in 1 month, even though it began in a week, right? I don't feel personally that it's history. It's American history. So it should be just taught, and it's not. Why do we have to focus and push out so much stuff in 1 month when it needs to be taught throughout the year?
And I'm doing just that.
I'm sure you're doing a great job.
I'm doing just that, but like you said, It's in other words, in my class, on behalf of the students that are coming through there, okay, uh, I'm appalled. I'm just like, what? Where have you been? They don't. Here's where I'm seeing the deficiency. They don't listen to the news. They don't read. You can't get your information from a tweet
Right.
because it's not set in context. You don't know what to believe because the minute you get an idea, right? They come along and they'll sweep it away, right? Here's another piece of propaganda that they're spreading. Biden is too old. That's not a qualification for being a president.
No, it's not. It's not at all.
That's what they paint the picture that he's getting senile or whatever. But what about the other guy?
Right.
Right.
What about his deficiencies?
Right.
When you hear somebody saying that he is old, what has he accomplished? Talking about Biden. Ever since he came in office, he has been doing some positive things for us. But they whitewash that, and then they leave this one standing that you see before you, who is propagating.
Because it's not on their agenda.
Yes.
It's not on their agenda.
So I just want to circle back because I'm not sure if it was clear to the public what democracy is. And I know that you were basically, sharing, what it is. I'm not sure if you completed that or if it was clear for the public, because I want them to understand why it is so important.
Gotcha. So it's, in other words, when I see a democracy, I see a place where there's laws. I heard I had a Russian in the hospital, and he told me this about his country. He says it's lawlessness. They can take your wallet and run, and then nobody's chasing them. He can start a war. I'm talking about Putin. He can start a war that the people don't agree with. He invaded Ukraine. He invaded another country, and they don't know about it. Because why? They don't have access to the news outlets. They don't have access that those at the top are screening, and the information that's getting through is misinformation. It's what the government wants you to know. Democracy does matter because I don't know. There was an illustration that I was using that who was the young lady that got caught up in Russia, that she had some weed on her? What was that?
I forget her name, but I know who
What was
you're
it?
talking about.
I can't remember her name, but she was a
Basketball
black basketball player. Yeah.
Okay, good. So she was thinking like an American. She was successful. She thought she could buy her way out of it, and she got caught in a non-democratic situation where she was threatened to be a pawn that the government could use to make a point. That's lack of democracy.
Well, that's good.
She was thinking like an American. Oh well, they're gonna smack me on the wrist. I'll pay a fine and I'm out. No, you're in Russia, and we don't play that over here. That's what democracy is.
But wait,
no. Let me just get this out.
Go ahead.
Let me get this out. They locked her up.
Yeah.
And she couldn't get out until they let out. I'm done.
You dropped the mic, doctor?
I'm done. That's where she made a mistake. She was thinking like an American, and she was thinking, I've got some money, I can move this, I can maneuver, and I'm getting out.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I guess I need to go back just a little bit. When I say the mockery on the presidency, I understand what Biden is dealing with, doing with him. But what about Fannie Willis, the prosecutor?
Oh my goodness.
That was
What
good.
they're
That's
doing
good.
to her right now, I'm so upset about that. You know, and they're only doing it because she's going after that guy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, why does he have so much power to do things like this? I mean, one, he was already charged with not charged. Am I saying it right? He was
Allegedly.
Yeah, he was charged.
charged with um
91
certain things,
counts.
and he's still talking on the microphone. He's still on TV. He's still saying he's gonna run for a race. How do you do that? I mean, why are we giving, or why do you think they give him so much power?
He has power. Politics is about power. Here's what you listen to when you're a politician. If you can help me, I can help you. Right? So he's got one of the houses of Congress represented in the House of Representatives. They've got lockstep. He's got the he handpicked those that are backing him, right? They wanted to impeach him. He's been impeached twice, and the House was backing him, and they had this thing around him where he untouchable, right? And they didn't stop him in the immediate out of the gate, and he just blew up like the Blob. He's stronger now. He's ruthless now.
But isn't that because they put a black man in presidency? They didn't
Okay,
do
hold on. You backing up, but it's okay.
Okay.
But that's my thing. That's my thesis.
Right. Okay.
That's my thesis. We got what comes after. They've always said it's a White House. That's our house.
Built by blacks.
The Capitol were going because he was their president, and he said it. He knew who his followers were. He read them correctly.
Right.
He said, I could stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody. This was before we got all these indictments.
Yep, I remember that.
He knew, excuse me for saying this, he knew he was a crook. He knew that the laws of retribution are coming at me. I'm going to make me some friends. Now, he has the distinction. I'm talking about, what are we talking about? 45.
Right.
He has the distinction of saying, I am your guy. And he's talking in code, and he blew the whistle. And they knew who he was. They knew what he represented. And it's based on, excuse me for saying this, the concept of white superiority is what he's backing.
Absolutely.
And everyone that thinks like him is backing him.
I totally agree.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
So,
Dr. Davis, I have a little question, a small question. This was very enlightening and educational for me as well. So in your classes, where do you start at when you begin to teach your class about educating them on this topic?
Okay, good. So they would like to start by, and excuse me, this is a part of the process, okay? They don't want you to, I have a second half that I do, which is 1865 to the present. You guys did the same thing, cut off a part of your history, right? Thomas Jefferson wrote in 1700s, blacks are inferior to whites in the endowments of mind and body. That's, you can Google this, Notes on the State of Virginia, right? And what he said was, let us judge them here. Talking about in North America. He's saying that's a continent, they're backwards. We don't want to go there. We want to go here, start here in America and go forward.
Mhm.
But here's what he missed. Africa has civilizations. Africa had dynasties. Africa had empires before the European incursion to begin the transatlantic slave trade, bringing those millions of Africans across that ocean. He said, "Don't go there because there's nothing there that looks like civilization." He said, I want you to judge them here on this continent
Mm.
and go forward." But that's a part of the trick. And that's what Dr. Carter G. Woodson's book, Miseducation of the Negro, is not just the Negro that has been miseducated. Those who educated the Negro have been miseducated because what did they do? They were passing on what they received.
Right.
And it's a large block of history that we historians those aware are going to put back in to the history and make the case for America,
All right.
a full
Thank
history.
Amen.
Yeah, thank you for that. Excellent.
Mhm.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I guess I got my last words. I would like to say that I really appreciate you, I know we all do, coming on the show, help educating us more and, sharing your education with us, I guess, your skill set. Hopefully we can have you back on to go deeper and further because this was really interesting and I think we should talk more as far as the Black culture and educating our people.
So I totally agree with Joanna. I concur. We definitely have to have you back because you gave us a different spin, right? And you connected, our history, our past history, starting from 1865 till today, presently, and how the present, because of the past, is affecting us today. That's
Yes.
very powerful, right? Very powerful. And we need to get some more of that food. We need that, right? I think that's the beginning. That's the beginning or the foundation in repairing us as a people. Knowledge. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, I concur with the ladies. Dr. Davis, it was a blessing having you on the podcast today. And yes, you definitely have to come back to fill in some of these gaps that we are missing, misinformed, not educated on. So we would definitely like to have you back. So thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and your education with us. And with that, ladies, are we all good for now?
We're good. I just wanted
Okay.
to see if Dr. Davis had anything last that he wanted to say or mention before we said goodbye.
Yes. It's critical and it's crucial that everyone who is knowledgeable about history get involved in this election. That's going to
I
be
agree.
that's what I'm going to charge you women to take what I've given you. I've given you just the tip of the iceberg. But this word, this knowledge has to be disseminated. And it can start small, like this group right here, but it's got to go. It's got to go into the society, and we only have a short time because the former president knew what kind of life he had done. He knew what the skeletons in his closet. He knew that, and he's the only one that went campaigning after he was elected. Unpack that.
Wow. Yeah.
He knew this was coming up. All these indictments. He knew it, and he enabled them to cling to him. And he's almost like a cult leader. He's a cult leader.
Mm. Wow.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, again, thank you, Dr. Davis, for coming on today. Again, we surely will have you back. Ladies, I love you all. And with that, we want to say thank you all for tuning in to Life Lessons for a Time Such as Now. Like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you have any questions about what we were talking about today, leave a comment and we will get back with you with the answer. Thank you for joining us. Everyone have a good night. God bless.
Thank you. Good night.